I was able to use my appraisal expertise to infuse in a city that I'd never been into. I had to take all of the experience I had running my appraisal company, but then do it on a national level of being an analyst.
Before he became a national valuation expert, Marcus Hill was a Razorback, a Little Rock native competing in the SEC, learning discipline and resilience. When football ended, he redirected that intensity into real estate. Just 1 month after graduating college, he became one of the youngest in America to train and start a real estate appraisal company at 26 years old during the 2008 housing recession.
Real estate as a whole is an amazing career, and the appraisal career is truly amazing because while that recession was going on, a lot of appraisers around the country were making a lot of money because there are multiple ways people utilize appraisers. When you buy a house, you got to refinance your house. When banks foreclose on properties, there's tax appraisals, there's insurance appraisals. When people get a divorce, you got to get an appraisal. And so I was taking advantage of those things when I launched my company.
Today, he's valued properties across all 50 states, advises homeowners as a Forbes Home Advisory Board member, and is the author of Assessing My Value, a book that breaks down how to see your worth clearly in real estate, in finances, and in yourself. From local roots to national reach, this is Marcus Hill.
What are some things Pine Bluff can do to attract businesses? And in your opinion, what are the city's strengths and unique selling points?
The unique strengths here is property values. Property values here are still at really good levels where people can actually afford a property being a single person. And then the people here. The people are very open for new investment, new opportunities.
What's up, y'all? I'm A'Kazonna Riddle. I am a Pine Bluff native attending our local HBCU, and this is Rebuilding the Bluff. Today, I'm here with Mr. Marcus Hill, a author, speaker, and real estate valuation expert. So, Mr. Hill, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here.
It's nice to meet you. Would you start by telling us a little about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Marcus Hill, and I am from Little Rock, Arkansas. Went to Little Rock Central High, and also a graduate of the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. And I got into real estate at 24 years old, 1 month after graduating college.
Could you tell us how was your college experience?
It was amazing. I had the best of both worlds. I was an athlete and fraternity person. So I got to work with a lot of different people, which helped me in my career because you got to work on projects with people. You got to learn a playbook. Like, it's very great to be around people where you're learning about life. Yeah, with no bills. You're in college, you're on your own. You got to make your own decisions.
Depending on yourself, basically.
And I just would say the coach I had back then used to tell us, best days of your life. And they truly are. You're learning who you are within, and you're learning to be responsible for yourself.
How did you manage being an athlete, football, right? Okay, how did you manage being a football player and being in a fraternity? Because don't y'all have to practice and stuff like that, homecoming?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I got hurt my second year and had to stop football. But during that time, like I said, when you're working together as far as like on a team aspect of, learning playbooks, working out together, doing that team thing, but then also the community service as being part of a fraternity was just amazing. It was just the best of both worlds.
So could you tell me what your life was growing up in Little Rock?
Sure. Well, where I grew up, there was a documentary called Banging in Little Rock when I was coming up. And this is where they highlighted Little Rock, Arkansas, the very worst of the worst. And there was a lot of gangs, drugs, gun violence shown on HBO. But a lot of people saw that documentary, but I actually was living it every day as a young person. And so I'm just very thankful to my family, church family, people that just believed in me and wanted to see me do well, just to make it out of that. But I will tell you how that happened was I made a decision young to go to college. And once I made that decision, that allowed me to get on the right path.
So did you have friends that were not on a good path in life? And if you did you encourage them to not be on a wrong path?
Unfortunately, I had a lot of friends that did not make it.
Mhm.
I had friends that passed away around my age frame, and then also I had friends that ended up going to jail. I'm very thankful of the friends that I made while I was going to church because we were in similar situations and we kept each other accountable. And so out of that group, there's a few doctors. I went on to do real estate. There's just a lot of business folks, but we were all right there together. And I just say, you can plan to do well, but you got to be intentional about being around the right people. And so, unfortunately, I did have those people that I knew that did not go down the right path. I'm just happy that I did have some positive experiences, within my church family.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for you. And the first one is, you've been in the appraisal world for nearly 20 years and even launched your own company at 26 during the 2008 recession. What did that early experience teach you about how property value is really created, and especially in communities that have been historically undervalued?
The term undervalue, when I hear it, it reminds me of my upbringing. I lived in a community that was probably deemed undervalued because of the nature of where it was located. But launching my company during a recession taught me a few things. It taught me that real estate as a whole is an amazing career, and the appraisal career is truly amazing because while that recession was going on, a lot of appraisers around the country were making a lot of money because there are multiple ways people utilize appraisers. Not only when you buy a house, you got to refinance your house. When banks foreclose on properties, there's tax appraisals, there's insurance appraisals. When people get a divorce, you got to get an appraisal. And so I was taking advantage of those things when I launched my company. But then also, if you go back to the community location aspect, there was a duplex that I used to play around when I was younger. And so when I got in my company, I actually valued that same property. And so I looked at it totally different from then because I realized that, oh yeah, this was a duplex. It was 2 beds, 1 bath on each side, but somebody was leasing that out to somebody
Mhm.
and profiting from it. And so I understood that when I actually eventually appraised that same property. And so during 2008, it was a lot of crazy things going on. People were losing their house left and right. Banks were foreclosing on people, but a lot of people were still buying investment properties there. And so the aspect of understanding just properties and numbers and things that investments that make sense is truly invaluable.
So, would you say the way you grew up made you want to go into being a real estate and appraisal and the author?
For me, entering into the appraisal field allowed me to find my passion.
Mhm.
So a lot of things that I grew up seeing was so uncomfortable, right?
Mhm.
But once I found my passion for something that I wanted to do for a career, I got really good.
Mhm.
And so I got into real estate and I wanted to learn all of real estate. Not only did I run an appraisal company, I was doing mortgage loans, I was investing into real estate, doing rental properties, doing fix and flips. And I think my younger time allowed me to put all that uncomfortable turmoil that I was going through into my passion for a career.
But then I was thinking, like, after I finished with nursing school, because I wouldn't want to like put a lot of things on my shoulders, a lot of heavy weight. So I was thinking about like real estate, because I know you don't have to go to college for it, but I don't want to do real estate, like studying everything and being in nursing school too at the same time. So,
And that's fair. I I love to just share, hey, there are multiple things that you can do, right? But the thing that you get up every day and you love to do, that's the thing that's going to help you live a better quality life every day. And a lot of people use real estate as a side hustle, a side job. A lot of people do it full time, but it's just that angle of something that everybody uses, everybody makes money from it. Just understanding the basics of it is what I love to share because no matter what job you do, you can always understand the aspect of buying and selling. Once you understand that, it don't matter what you do for your career, you can always understand, oh, rental properties, oh, buying land, oh, fix and flipping. Just the basics of it is what you can take. And the careers of appraisal, loan officer, realtor is something that you can do on the side along with what you really want to be passionate about. But it's really good that you are thinking at this age, like, hey, all these options are here.
Yes,
And let me
I
find
stick with
some,
one.
yeah, and let me find something that I will wake up every day, every morning, love to do. And like you said, you have a passion to support people. And so in the nursing field, that is highly great.
My next question is, you worked in markets all over the country. When you look at a city like Pine Bluff, what are the early signs that you tell a place is starting to level up even before the data officially shows it?
Absolutely. I've had the opportunity to value real estate in every state in America. And when I look at just cities and impact, I look at, okay, what are the timeframes local builders are throwing out there for projects? If you start creeping up to like, oh, we can't get to you for 8 to 10 weeks, now that's a sign like, oh, they're pretty busy. More people are doing new investments, more people are using these local builders. And then also things like here in Palm Bluff, the casino. That is a big infusement of more people spending. That's a good indicator that the city is on the rise when high impact things like a casino come to a city.
Okay, so you said that you've been to all of the states. Is it like one day I'm in Florida, the next day I'm in Colorado or something like that? Like,
So the way I was valuing real estate was I was working for Fannie Mae, which backs mortgages in America. And so they have assets different places. And so I didn't really have to travel as much. I just had to analyze a lot of data. And so I was able to use my appraisal expertise to infuse in a city that I've never been into, but I now understand how to use the factors to describe value, like how big the property is, what kind of condition the property is in, how many bed bath counts. And so these are factors that appraisers use to determine value. So I had to take all of the experience I had running my appraisal company, but then do it on a national level of being an analyst.
so you really like working like on a computer?
That's true.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and so we would get information on a property that Fannie owns, and so I would get pictures of the property. I'll get the characteristics of the property, how big it is, how many bed count, what's the condition, and then I would look into that market and see what are other homes selling for based on these factors. And so I was playing more of an analytical role in making a business decision by way of using my appraisal education. But I do travel a lot now with the book Assessing My Value. I've been to over 30 cities around America, sharing my personal journey of getting into the appraisal field at 24 years old when the average age in America is 50 to 65. And then what's really cool is a lot of times it's really cool to kind of highlight my journey and share that, hey, you can get into this right out of college. And it's a field that's recession proof. And also in the book, I got chapters about how to buy your first house, how to be a landlord, real estate investments. Here's what you need to know. And then I got a chapter about HGTV flipping shows. You heard about those? Okay, so this is where these cable channels, they get these properties, they fix them and flip them, and they show the profit that they make. So I wrote a whole chapter about my appraiser education within these shows because appraisers can give you different types of value. They can give you a as-is value of what that property is right now, but they also can give you a value of if you repair that property, here's how much it's gonna be worth then. And so I feel like a lot of these flipping shows, they may or may not use appraisals, but the appraiser can give them all the information.
A lot of people in Pine Bluff think an appraisal is just a number someone makes up. What are the biggest myths? How is it valued before it's actually calculated?
Yes, there's a big myth out there around numbers, but it's actually a methodology that appraisers use. It's two parts to it. You have to go to the property and be a property investigator and figure out how big this property is. How people learn how big properties are by appraisers because they are the people that measure the property every time they go to the property. And so we're looking at these characteristics of how big it is, what's the type of condition this property is, bed bath count. But then we also take all that information we did at the inspection and bring it back to the office and put it in a report. And so now we're looking for other properties in that same neighborhood that compare to the property. It's a way to give your opinion, because that's really all an appraiser is. Appraisal is, it's an opinion of value, but we use methodology, standards govern on how we come up with that final value. And then another myth is in every city, there is taxes and county records. And so a lot of people go to county records and see what the county has their property listed for. But that's two different types of value. That is only assessed value. That is just value that the city has so they can figure out what's your tax bill on their property. But a lot of people look at that number and think that's what it's worth. But market value by an appraiser is the true value. Zillow is not the value. The county records value is not the true value. We have to educate ourselves more to know that we need market value to determine the true value of that property. And we need to hire a licensed appraiser to give us that number. And we should let that number be our decision maker of how we move in that property.
Well, was this something that you knew before you started, or like as you were getting into it?
What's great about the appraisal field is all stuff that anybody can learn. Initially, I wanted to go to law school after graduating college. I was all excited about law. I took a summer job working for an appraiser, and it literally just changed my life. Now I'm starting to go to schooling, learning about property characteristics. I'm learning how to measure properties. I'm learning how to explain values to homeowners and lenders, because once you start an appraisal business and you submit an appraisal, typically the lender may call you up and something in their appraisal report they may ask you about. So you got to know how to explain it, And so I'm learning all these things at 24, 25. And it's just a mindset shift. I'm thinking law, but I was so blessed to be able to just be introduced to the appraisal field, which that ended up being something that I was so passionate about and wanted to spend the rest of my life doing. Anybody can get into the field because you're going to learn everything you need to know through schooling and working underneath a mentor.
My next question is, you're both an appraiser and an investor. If you were analyzing Pine Bluff the same way you analyze other cities, what opportunities or red flags will pop out to you right now?
When I look at opportunities, I'm looking at accessibility to buy properties. Is it accessible? In Pine Bluff, the rental market is really good here. A lot of out-of-state investors are now poured into Pine Bluff. Red flags are more things like you see a lot of boarded properties, not understanding that, hey, those boarded properties, that could be a driving force of why properties are not appraised at the highest value. You can do any career you want to do, but the easiest way to start the wealth process for just any individual is to buy your first property. And so I think when you interject just that notion of home ownership into anybody in any city, especially Pine Bluff, you can start your own wealth journey just by buying your first property. And I just think once people start understanding the aspect of how to do it, then now that can now infuse into Pine Bluff. And now you can start going to these areas where the upkeep is not so great, but now in ownership aspect, now you can understand how you can add wealth to yourself by increasing the repairs of properties.
Okay, with the boarded properties, what's one thing you would change it to if you could that's not already in Pine Bluff?
Well, there's multiple ways to utilize houses. A lot of people live in them, right? But what if a lot of these properties were now repaired and someone can now put a veteran in that home? And you can have several veterans in a home or several people in a space where you can literally now infuse a whole nother income source just by having a place for veterans or sober living people or traveling nurses. Like there are lots of different ways to utilize a regular property outside of just living in it yourself.
I think I personally either turn it into a Airbnb or like a nursing home. Like I feel like that would be a great thing for Palm Bluff because I don't really hear anything about like nursing homes for real. I know there are a couple Airbnbs, but
A- And the first thing to do is to understand the zoning of where this property is. What is it zone? Is it zone single family? Is it zone commercial, multifamily? That is how you're going to determine what you can actually do with that said property. And so it's just educating yourself on like, okay, what are the building codes? What is the zone? Starting there. And then, but you also can apply for variances to change that zoning. And so it's great to be creative because there's so many things you can do with property.
how does border properties affect everyday citizens without them even knowing it?
You know, we mentioned undervalued areas earlier, right? And so there's a term called regression in real estate. And so that's where areas, properties are now going down in value. Well, when you have a lot of boarded properties, those properties could directly affect that neighborhood. Curb appeal, the interior condition, exterior condition, those are things that could really make an impact and keep values at a steady pace instead of increasing. If we would understand the value of repairing these properties, if we would understand the value of showing people how to become a first-time homeowner by way of getting some of these properties that have been sitting up, it just would change the whole mindset and aspect of that said neighborhood. Sometimes there are multiple properties that are boarded up in different areas, but if you just take that same concept of, let me understand what the value of this asset right now as it boarded up. But let me also engage with an appraiser and figure out, okay, what if I added some repairs to this property, what that value could be? And that appraiser can tell you, they can give you an as repaired value report.
I know it's a house, like the outside of it, it will look like the house is abandoned, but like in the inside is actually nice. That kind of like plays a part, like how the outside of a house looks. I feel like that plays a part with people like overlooking a house to buy.
Yes, it does. And I'll tell you this, there's another thing called drive-by appraisals. And so let's just say a bank wants to know a little bit about this property that they have on the books. They'll hire an appraiser just to go do a drive-by inspection. And what they do is just take a picture of the front of the property and take a picture of the street. And then they figure out, okay, what's the value? And so just think if they're taking a picture of this boarded, or well, not boarded, but just not so good property on the outside, it could be totally great inside, and it could be missing out on the value just because the exterior wasn't
Yeah, I've
updated.
actually saw someone do that before. With Palm Bluff stigma, why should people care about rehabbing or coming to live in Palm Bluff?
I first think it's a local level issue where the community should be more educated on how to increase value in neighborhoods. And so if you do that, that's now going to help people understand like, okay, even though this is not the best part of town, there's a boarded property here, but that property still has value. People look at boarded properties not like investors. An investor is going to look at a boarded property and they're going to look at it and see potential. Oh, this is potential because I can buy it at this price, but I know that I can infuse capital into this property, get my money back, and make a profit. And so, right here in Palm Bluff, you could take every boarded property and it still is going to have a value. But once you educate people on the power of repairs and understanding property equity, that said boarded property could send your kids to college if you rehab that. But we got to teach more people to look in from an investor aspect instead of just like a regular, oh, this is just a regular property. It's the mindset shift should change because a lot of people use real estate to build wealth. And it doesn't matter if the property is boarded or it looks fine, it still has a value. And once you understand value, and you can understand equity, that could change the whole outlook of the boarded property situation.
My next question is, Pine Bluff has a lot of older homes with character. For first-time buyers or new investors here, how can home warranties help protect their budget, and what should they realistically expect from them?
And it's great that you mentioned home warranty, because a lot of people sometimes are scared to buy because they feel like, oh my God, something goes wrong. What am I going to do, right? Well, the home warranty is very cost efficient, and it will allow you to sleep at night if that HVAC goes out or appliances go out. There are a lot of older properties here, right? And so I think for yourself owning a property, you should have a home warranty. Even if you're an investor, you should have a home warranty, because the other major components of houses could be high ticket values. But if you're paying a monthly fee and know, okay, when that HVAC go out, I can just make a call and get that thing replaced, you can sleep at night. And that makes you want to be like, feel comfortable about going into home warranties. And if you buy a new construction house, people still get home warranties, but you don't have that fear, because typically in new properties, all of those major components are new. It's just when you buy a house because you like the character, right? You need to know on that seller disclosure what has been updated in the past 10, 15 years.
I feel like a lot of people should be educated on what they're about to spend their money on, so they don't waste their money or have to pay for this, and that, when they don't have to, if they would have just been educated before.
Absolutely. And that's what the home warranties are for. They're for the inevitable. Something's always gonna go wrong. If you're in a property that's older than 10 or 15 years, at some point, something's gonna happen. And so I feel like that will lessen the fear of home ownership if people understand, oh, I can get a home warranty. What's a home warranty? And that will just allow people to sleep at night and not have to worry about, oh, if this major component goes wrong, now I'm gonna be out tens of thousands of dollars. But you will be if you don't have a home warranty.
Another question I have is, what should Pine Bluff homeowners or small developers focus on if they want their property to appraise well, especially in a city that is rebuilding its image?
Absolutely. I think every homeowner or investor should do your own inspection of your property or the property they're trying to buy. Look and see what the outside condition looks at. Look inside, see if anything needs to be rehabbed or repaired, because if you understand condition, it's powerful. Every property appraiser goes to, they're going to label that property with a condition rating. C1 through C6. C1 is like new construction, top of the line. C6 is a property you can't even live in. And so when you understand, oh, this appraiser is going to give me a condition rating, that should immediately let you know that, okay, I need to make sure this property is tip-top shape, because I want the best and highest value I can get.
For Pine Bluff homeowners who want to increase their property value but don't have big renovation money, what low-cost upgrades actually make a difference during an appraisal?
We just said it earlier, curb appeal, the exterior of the property. You can replace some things that are not high-ticket items, but they increase the overall presence of the property. You can change out bath fixtures that could make an impact. It's not like changing out the whole entire bath, but appeal wise, if an appraiser is going there, taking a picture of that room, and they notice, oh, okay, this is
Like the floors,
the floors are nice.
Wall painting.
Absolutely. Well, not so much wall painting, but I would say if you have some of the carpet is messed up, hey, you want to make sure that is taken care of before anybody that's coming to put a value on their property. Their opinion is not swayed because of a condition issue. There is a term in appraising called functional obsolescence. Like, you can walk into a house and let's just say the toilet is next to the kitchen. Now that's the problem, right? So that could be something that is why your value is not as high as you think, because you have some type of issue.
My last question is, You watch cities reinvent themselves. From your national experience, what does Pine Bluff need to get right in its next chapter so property values grow in a way that's fair and actually reflects the city's real potential?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is educating the people. Educating the people on the process of homeownership is one of the easiest ways to start your wealth journey. Your first property could be your first investment. And so I think if there's more education on homeownership, understanding property equity, understanding how neighborhoods hold value is about increasing the condition of these properties everywhere. And I just feel like if you lead by education, that's going to inspire people to want to buy a house, want to invest, want to stay in the community. We mentioned the casino. That was something big for Pine Bluff,
A
right?
lot of people be going to the
Yeah.
casino every day.
And so just think about if there were other big companies, corporations that come here to put their home office. For instance, Bentonville, Arkansas, they have Walmart, right? They have a lot of vendors that use Walmart, right? And so just think if other big companies, corporations bring in a workforce to Pine Bluff, that's gonna make people want to buy. That's gonna make people want to stay, and it's going to increase the overall, economic future for Pine Bluff. But I really just think that education piece is what needs to be expressed, because once you get educated and you understand numbers and you just do everything by way of understanding value, by way of understanding what an appraiser actually does and why they do what they do, it just will help just a whole outcome economically for the city.
I can definitely agree with that. What are some things Pine Bluff can do to attract businesses? And in your opinion, what are the city's strengths and unique selling points?
So the unique strengths here is property values. Property values here are still at really good levels where people can actually afford a property being a single person. And then the people here, the people are very open for new investment, new opportunities. Just increase the education of affordability. Because a lot of times people don't get into home ownership till like 40, 50, right? But if you do it at a younger age, I think that will inspire others and young people to be excited about Pine Bluff, to be excited about staying here in this unique space of opportunity.
I don't know if you know, but we have they're building like a race car thing.
Okay.
So I think that would be like a fun type of thing for us to have and like bring everybody out. So it's like not people just in the streets doing bad things, stuff like that. So I think that's a good thing.
Yes, and the leadership here is amazing. They're very excited about introducing new things to help people stay in the community, get educated, and just have an overall great experience of just living here.
This was a great interview. I was very informed about a lot of things that I didn't know before I came here. Could you let us know where we could get in contact with you and more about your book?
Absolutely. So my book is on Amazon, Assessing My Value. You can go to Amazon and type in the title. I'm at Ask Marcus Hill on Instagram, Marcus Hill on LinkedIn, and Marcus Hill on Facebook. And just so very thankful for this opportunity to share with you. And I hope you continue on down to find your passion and then incorporate some real estate there too.
Thank you. 3 takeaways that you can get from this interview: value a property by hiring an appraiser. There's a difference between tax value and market value. And also, don't be afraid to get into real estate early. Don't forget to check out the book on Amazon by Mr. Marcus Hill, Assessing My Value. Again, I am A'Kazonna Riddle, and see you next time on Rebuilding the Bluff.